Here's a question I want you to sit with for a second. You're driving down a highway. You look out the window, and there it is, a massive white tower, slowly turning 3 giant blades in the wind. It looks almost lazy, almost too peaceful to be doing anything useful. And yet, that one tower, that single machine, might be powering your entire neighborhood right now. Every light, every refrigerator, every phone charger on your street. How is that possible? Today, we're going to find out. And I promise, no engineering degree required. First, let's talk about power in a way that actually makes sense. You know how a light bulb is labeled 60 watts? That's how much power it uses. Your microwave? About 1,000 watts. Your whole house, running everything at once, TV, washing machine, air conditioning, uses roughly 1,000 to 2,000 watts on average. Now, a megawatt is simply 1 million watts. Think of it as enough power to run about 800 average homes simultaneously, all at once, right now, in real time. A typical wind turbine you'd see on land today produces 3 to 5 megawatts at full speed. So at maximum output, one turbine could theoretically power 2,400 to 4,000 homes at the same time. But, and this is important, the wind doesn't always blow at full strength. Sometimes it barely moves. Sometimes it's a storm. So over the course of a full year, a land turbine typically runs at about 30 to 35% of its maximum. Factor that in, and one mid-sized turbine realistically powers around 1,500 to 2,500 homes per year. One tower, one spinning machine in a field, powering a small town. So where does the electricity actually come from? How does spinning metal in the wind end up as power in your outlet? Think of it like a bicycle dynamo, the little generator some bikes have that powers the headlight when you pedal. As the wheel turns, magnets spin inside a coil of wire, and that movement creates electricity. A wind turbine works on exactly the same principle, just slightly larger. The blades catch the wind and rotate. That rotation spins a shaft connected to a generator inside the turbine's housing, the big box you see at the very top. Magnets spin past coils of copper wire. Electrons start moving, and electricity flows out through cables running down the tower and underground to the grid. The faster the blades spin, the more electricity is produced. And here's the part that really matters. Wind speed doesn't just increase power linearly. If wind speed doubles, available power increases by a factor of 8. So a turbine in a consistently windy location doesn't produce twice as much electricity as one in a calm spot. It produces dramatically, disproportionately more. This is why placement is everything. A wind farm on a coastal hilltop or out at sea isn't there for aesthetics. It's there because every extra meter per second of wind speed is worth an enormous amount of electricity. Now let's compare this to how we've traditionally made electricity, because this is where it gets really interesting. A large coal power plant typically produces around 500 to 1,000 megawatts. That's the equivalent of 200 to 300 modern wind turbines. But here's the trade-off. That coal plant burns fuel 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's reliable and consistent, but it never stops consuming. Every hour it runs, tons of coal go in, and carbon dioxide comes out. A natural gas plant is similar, roughly 400 to 800 megawatts, more flexible, cleaner than coal, but still burning fuel constantly. A nuclear power plant produces around 1,000 megawatts from a single reactor, with almost zero emissions during operation. It runs at over 90% of its capacity year-round, far more consistent than wind. So how do turbines stack up? A single turbine can't compete with a power station on raw output, but a modern offshore wind farm, hundreds of turbines grouped together in the ocean, absolutely can. The Hornsea 2 wind farm off the English coast has 165 turbines and powers over 1 million homes. That's a major city, run entirely by wind. Let's talk about the honest pros and cons, because wind energy isn't a perfect solution. Nothing is. The advantages are significant. The fuel is completely free. Once a turbine is built, the wind doesn't send you a bill. Over a turbine's 20 to 25-year lifespan, that adds up to an enormous saving compared to power plants that must continuously purchase coal, gas, or uranium. There are no emissions during operation, no carbon dioxide, no sulfur, no particulates. The turbine doesn't burn anything, it just spins. Wind is inexhaustible. Unlike coal seams or oil fields, the atmosphere isn't running out. As long as the sun heats the earth unevenly, which it will for another 5 billion years, wind will blow. Modern wind power is now the cheapest source of new electricity generation in most parts of the world. Not the cheapest once, occasionally, consistently, right now, in most countries. That's a dramatic shift that happened largely within the last decade. But the disadvantages are real and worth being honest about. Wind is intermittent. The turbine only produces power when the wind blows at the right speed, typically between about 11 and 90 kilometers per hour. Below that range, there's not enough energy to generate usefully. Above that range, turbines are shut down to prevent damage. On a perfectly calm day, output drops to zero. This is the central challenge of wind power. A coal plant can be told to produce more electricity this afternoon. A wind turbine cannot. You work with what the atmosphere provides. This means wind power needs to be paired with either energy storage, large batteries that hold surplus electricity for calm periods, or backup sources like gas plants that can spin up quickly when wind drops. Neither solution is free or fully solved yet. Wind turbines also take up significant land area. A large wind farm might cover tens of square kilometers, though the land between turbines can still be farmed. Offshore turbines solve the land use problem, but are much more expensive to build and maintain. Imagine sending a repair crew by boat in the North Sea in February. And some people simply don't like how they look or sound. A turbine produces a low whooshing noise that's barely noticeable at 500 meters, but can be irritating closer in. This is why turbines are sited away from homes. There are also real concerns about birds and bats. Turbine collisions do kill wildlife. Researchers are actively working on radar systems, painted blade patterns, and other solutions to reduce this, but it remains a genuine issue. So where does all this leave us? A single wind turbine, something the height of a 50-story building, turning slowly in a field, powers somewhere between 1,500 and 10,000 homes, depending on its size and location. It produces no pollution, uses no fuel, and will keep doing this quietly for 2 decades. It cannot do this on a still day. It cannot replace a power grid on its own. It cannot match the sheer density of a nuclear plant or the on-demand reliability of a gas turbine. But here's what's shifted in the last 10 years. Wind is no longer an idealistic experiment. It's an industrial-scale power source that in some countries already generates more electricity than coal. In Denmark, wind covers over 50% of total national electricity consumption in an average year. In parts of Texas, not exactly known as a hotbed of environmental policy, wind is now the single largest source of electricity. The slow, peaceful spin you see out the car window isn't lazy. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do, working with physics, not against it, quietly converting something free and endless into the electricity running through your walls. That's not an idealistic dream. That's engineering.